Welcome back to Author to Author. Today we're going to do a chapter reading. I hope you enjoy. This is the prologue from What the Gods Left Behind by Zephyr Trillian. A dark epic fantasy of magic, dangerous artifacts, and found family. In a humble corner of the square, far from the orb jugglers and fire breathers, a crowd had begun to gather around a woman perched on a wooden stool. Her silver-kissed hair was bound with a ribbon, and she carried no divine signs, no insignia of noble patronage, only a bowl for coins and a shawl embroidered with stars. Children sat on the cobbled ground at her feet, their festival sweets forgotten, while adults lingered at the edges, drawn in from the bustling market stalls. The woman waited, then she spoke. "In the beginning," she said, her voice dropping to a resonant hush, "before time had meaning, there existed Father Earth and Mother Ocean. The earth and the ocean are in love. Where shore meets sea, their fingers interlace. Rough stone against cool water, soft sand yielding to foaming tide. Ocean kisses earth with lips of salt and ancient secrets, whispering sweet nothings that hiss and gurgle along his shore. Her touch leaves trails that shimmer in the moonlight, and she drapes seaweed scarfs along his shoulders. He enfolds her in cool, solid strength, sending arms of stone deep into her darkest depths. His forest hair rustles with laughter, and he whispers back with the sighing boughs of shivering trees. And always ever watching is the Sighted One, whose countless eyes are the stars themselves. The Sighted One has been watching since before earth and ocean first embraced, before the first mountain rose, before the first river flowed. The Sighted One always watches, and he judges, though not with mortal understanding and never with mortal eyes. When we stand beneath the night sky, where the stars gaze upon us, we know we are never alone. Love creates life, and so it was that we were born. We came from the union of the ocean, the mother of mankind, and our father, the earth. We are nothing but an accident, a mistake in the mystery of existence, but at least we were made with love. The first humans formed in the depths of Mother Ocean until our fingers grew wrinkled and our lungs yearned for air. She birthed us into sun-warmed shores, and our skin glistened with her salty tears as we took our first steps upon Father Earth. Father Earth welcomed us with soft grasses for our tender feet, and sweet fruits that burst in our mouths and ran sticky down our chins. He gave us grain that waved in golden fields, and trees that shaded us from the sun. He gave us little sisters and brothers in the animals, the quick rabbit, the powerful bear, the clever fox, so that we would have a family to play with and love. But when the first winter came, Father Earth fell into a deep slumber, dusted with snow like a burial shroud, and Mother Ocean retreated into her depths, falling still and silent as her shores turned to ice. It was then that the Sighted One saw what the earth and ocean in their slumber could not see, that the humans did not sleep, but instead remained awake. Cold bit into their flesh with teeth of ice until skin turned blue-white as the moon. Hunger hollowed their bellies and dimmed their bright eyes. The proud, strong bodies that had lazed beneath the summer skies became haunched and small, growing feeble against the merciless cold. Then came the rattling breaths, stillness and silence, death. Nothing had ever died before, and in that moment the humans discovered something new to all existence, the desperate need to survive. The Sighted One watched as the humans savaged each other, blood steaming in the cold air as it spilled across pristine snow. Brother against brother, sister against sister, stone against skull, teeth against flesh. Desperation taught them to attack their kindred and devour them, animal and human alike, while Father Earth slept beneath his quilt of snow, and Mother Ocean dreamed in her depths, unaware of her children's fate. In our grief and pain we did what we have always done. We begged for salvation. Our voices rose, raw with grief and thick with despair. We cried out to Father Earth, whose body they stood upon, to Mother Ocean, whose blood flowed in our veins, to the vast and empty expanse of the sky. "Why have you done this to us? Please help us. We cannot bear this suffering alone." No one listened, no one noticed, except for the stars, and there grew within the sighted one an idea, a purpose formed from compassion and calculation. Suffering gives birth to wishes, and those wishes can be granted by those with power. He would grant them, he decided, not because he had to, but simply because he could. The sighted one gathered cosmic dust that glowed with inner fire. From the raw stuff of stars, the same material from which all is created, he spun the 9. As they crystallized from dust into divinity, he gave each a fragment of his awareness and a portion of his power. When he was done, their skin glowed with internal radiance, their hair rippled like water shot through with light, and their eyes held the depth of the universe itself. He saw that they were perfect, and so he smiled. Then the sighted one cast a gossamer web across the world that caught wishes like dew captures the first light of dawn. He gave each god the wishes, tidily tucked into bags of cosmic silk, and he spoke his first and only commandment. "Go to the creatures of this world, bring them peace and end their torment, for they cannot save themselves alone. Be their guides, their teachers, and their protectors." And so the 9 descended from the heavens, each bearing gifts that would transform humanity forever. The healer found pain and sickness and drew them out, leaving soothing, blessed health in their place. The firstborn knew the secrets of plants and crafted powerful remedies from them. The hearthkeeper brought the first fire to change crude hovels into homes. The cultivator coaxed fruit from reluctant trees and tamed the beasts until they gladly offered their milk and eggs. The smith crafted tools from stone and ore, transforming rock and earth into hammers and ploughs. The voice spoke of justice and truth, and demonstrated that words, when properly chosen, could bind us together in strength. The dancer showed how melody could mend hearts torn by grief, and that, in shared movement, even strangers could become family. The child bestowed imagination and wonder, teaching the wisdom of play and the power of believing in impossible things. And lastly, the life-keeper, who honoured both beginnings and endings, taught humans to find meaning in mortality, instead of just fear. Farmers would rise before dawn to find the cultivator walking their fields in the morning mist. Children would race behind him, laughing as green shoots erupted into heavy, golden wheat where his shadow fell. In the orchards, trees bent their backs under the weight of fruit so flawless it seemed carved from sunlight. One apple would sustain a family for days, its flesh never browning, its sweetness never fading. Women who had wept from empty arms would receive the healer's blessing, and 9 months later the cries of healthy babies would fill their homes. Men whose bodies had been broken would walk again after the blue glow of her hands passed over their twisted limbs. Festivals lasted for weeks in the wake of the dancer. Wine flowed from dry fountains, tasting of berries never grown on mortal soil. Music played itself on instruments no human had touched, notes so pure they brought both laughter and tears. The old danced like the young, their aching joints forgotten, and the grieving discovered joy breaking through their sorrow, like stars breaking through the night sky. As their blessings spread across the land, the 9 reached into themselves and drew forth tendrils of starlight. This they wove into the bodies of their most favoured disciples. They were the first acolytes, people who bore god-blood in their veins. Where ordinary humans saw only the world before them, acolytes felt the shimmering threads that bind all creation together. The 9 blessed them with just enough power to help their mission, that they might spread the blessings throughout the known world. And so we entered an age of wonders, when suffering became a distant memory. All was well for quite some time, but then came the day that everything changed. The severing. The 9 tried to save us, and perhaps they succeeded too well. For one day, morning dawned, and they were simply gone. We found no gods in their temples, only strange objects. A box that showed hidden paths, a hammer that shaped metal with thought alone, a vial of water that could extend life beyond its natural span, artifacts, fragments of divinity left behind in physical form without the nine to guide them. Where divine footsteps had nurtured abundance, hunger carved out hollows in bellies once more. Where healing hands had banished suffering, disease now claimed souls like autumn leaves. The towers built with divine guidance crumbled, their foundations suddenly as fragile as the promises whispered in dreams. Humanity, alone once more, fell back into old habits. They tore at each other like dogs fighting over scraps. Villages burned, cities emptied, the golden age tarnished in a single season. Among this darkness walked the acolytes, lost without their celestial anchors. Some of them became as wild as storm winds. Their eyes glowed with madness as they tore reality itself, becoming the first apostates, living nightmares that shattered everything they touched, burning out like meteors striking earth. Others maintained their divine light, though dimmed like candles in a draughty hall. These acolytes became precious beyond measure, for they were the last embers of a divine fire nearly extinguished, the last hope of humanity capturing blessings once more. They gathered beneath the banners of their lost gods, forming the orders that would reshape the world. The Order of the Voice seized control, promising an end to the apostate scourge. They worked with the smiths to forge silver collars, then marked them with the divine brand. For protection, they claimed. For stability, they insisted. And they fastened cold metal around acolyte throats. And there were no more apostates. We were, again, saved. What began as salvation had been twisted into bondage. The first divine gift became the first divine burden. And souls that had once served the nine are now bound to mortal masters. Now 6 centuries of prayers have gone unanswered. We have rebuilt our lives among the remnants of our past. We have harnessed the power of what artifacts we could salvage. The acolytes still walk among us, their collars catching the sun, their gifts captured and applied for our comfort. And we, the children of earth and ocean, still tell stories of the beings who saved us, then left us to save ourselves. But what happened to our gods? Some say they grew tired of human need and turned their backs on us. Others whisper that the Sighted One took them back because we became too dependent. The truth, like all important things, remains hidden, perhaps in the artifacts themselves, perhaps in the celestial realm, or perhaps in the stars that watch us still. One thing remains certain: we cannot save ourselves alone. We never could. But our story is not yet done. The storyteller's voice faded like the last notes of a song, leaving a moment of silence. Then, all at once, the crowd erupted in applause. Coins clinked into her collection bowl as children tugged at their parents' sleeves, asking questions about gods and stars. She gathered her shawl around her shoulders and smiled at the crowd, waiting until they dispersed. Then she gathered her collection bowl and placed it on her lap. At the edge of the crowd, 2 figures stood apart. Evander, a voice official, wore formal violet robes that were pristine despite the dusty festival square. A silver collar marked with a stylized eye gleamed in his throat. Adrin, his broad-shouldered and watchful companion, wore leather armour over an orange smith tunic, with divine branded restraints hanging off his belt. Evander traced the edge of the notebook where he'd been recording the storyteller's words. Entertaining nonsense, he paused, but dangerous. Adrin's calloused hands absently fiddled with one of his restraints. The crowd seemed to enjoy it. People enjoy many things that aren't good for them. Evander's eyes narrowed as he watched the storyteller count her coins. I'll have someone speak with her about more appropriate versions of the creation myth. Adrin's gaze swept over the storyteller, then the bustling market square. Sometimes I wonder what they would think of all of this. Who? The gods, if they returned today and saw what we've become in their absence. Evander closed his notebook quietly and tucked it under his arm. They abandoned their responsibilities. We preserved order. There's nothing to wonder about. Adrin averted his eyes. His fingers brushed the silver collar at his own throat. His expression unreadable as he touched the hammer symbol burned into the metal. They continued their patrol without another word, beneath a sky where the stars waited, invisible in daylight, yet ever present. Watching, as they had since before the first mountain rose, before the first river flowed, and before humans learned that even gods can disappear. Thank you to everyone that's listened to this chapter reading, and thank you to the author, Zephyr, for allowing me to read it. Please like and leave a comment on the video, and if you're not already, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you have any spare change and can consider supporting me further, you can find a link in the description to buy me a coffee. Thank you for watching.